Ethnic cleansing. Now you have to understand, in the book of 2 Samuel, these two stories, this one and the next one, are not in chronological order. Up to this point, it has established David as the beginning of the dynasty. Certain important facts were had. It will now go on to Solomon. But at the end of the book, the author is putting in a couple events that kind of like he was saying, oh, this also happened. But it doesn't necessarily happen right here in the chronological order. And we don't know when they happened. The story talks about a 3-year famine. Now you have to understand, that was devastating. 1-year famine. No rain means no crops. And no rain also means more insects and more problems. Then 2 years, and then 3 years of famine. Now it's true that at this point in Israel's history, they had enough money to buy what they needed to supply their needs, but still, this is a problem that needed to be taken care of. It definitely got David's attention. We also look at this situation. Here are two people groups. We have the Gibeonites. They had deceived Joshua and came up with an agreement. And that happens back in the book of Joshua. It talks about how they put on old clothes and had old bread and old wine skins, and they got dust all over their donkeys, and they came and they deceived the people of Israel to come up with an agreement. Now, they were not supposed to have an agreement like this, but they were deceived. But now for 400 years, everyone honored that agreement until Saul. Saul came along and he was just going to take care of it right here. He was going to take care of those Gibeonites. God was not pleased. No, Israel had an agreement with this people group. And so he had to get David's attention, and it had to be taken care of. Now, as you listen to the story, the way they took care of it, taking those 7 men, hanging them, letting them stay there for 7 months. When I read this story, and as I've read it in the past, I thought, how awful, how cruel, how could God condone that? Because he seems to be pleased at the end. Till recently I thought, wait a minute. Ethnic cleansing is not a happening that's unknown to us today. There are whole wars that are fought. My country has stepped in to stop ethnic cleansing. Now, we didn't stop it this way. Instead, we had thousands of people killed on our side and on the other two sides. And yet we think that's okay. In this story, much as it still appalls me, but in this story, 7 people died. And 2 people groups came back together. Not only did they come back together, but the Gibeonites were the servants of the tabernacle. This conflict was resolved, and it was with the Gibeonites that Solomon goes and sacrifices 1,000 sacrifices at the building of the temple. These 2 people got back together. It's a hard story. But the thing it teaches us that reconciliation is hard. Trust trust you'll come back next week as we continue on with Story Insights, the story of the week. We'll see you next week.